The Nintendo GameCube didn't have a massive library of RPGs, most of those ended up on the PlayStation 2, but even though the system didn't have that many RPGs, there were still some great ones released like Paper Mario, Fire Emblem, and the game we're going to talk about today, Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. Baten Kaitos was developed by Monolith Soft, a company that was comprised of many people that worked on the Squaresoft game Xenogears. They also developed Xenosaga, Xenoblade, and several other games. Before starting the game, you're treated to this gorgeous intro. Sadly, this is the only bit of FMV in the game, probably due to the lack of storage space on the GameCube's mini-discs. The in-game graphics are gorgeous, and the art direction is wonderful. Each island has a completely different look and feel, and is bursting with color and style. A couple of my favorites are the Picture Book Village, and there are several cities with clouds floating through them. The character designs, on the other hand, are pretty ugly. They also use a very unappealing art style for the character portraits, which is a shame because they did such a great job with the environments. Then there's also Gibari, who looks very much like a character from a certain PS2 RPG. In most role-playing games, you play as the lead character. In this one, you play as a guardian spirit who is bonded to the main character, Callus. Callus is on a quest to avenge the death of his grandfather and brother. Along the way, he meets Shella, who is on a journey to prevent the Emperor from awakening an evil god. For the most part, it's your typical RPG story, but there are some really nice plot twists. The story is held back a bit by lots of unnecessary dialogue, though. If you've played other Monolith Soft titles like Xenosaga or Xenogears, you'll be used to lots of talking via text or cutscenes. While those games do have a lot of dialogue, it always seems like they're saying something important for the story or characters. When characters talk in Baten Kaitos, it often seems like they're saying nothing or just repeating the same thing over and over again. You don't carry around a traditional inventory of items in this game. Instead, every single item in the world is represented by cards called Magnus. There are over 1,000 to collect, and you can see your progress in the Gathering section of the menu. Combat is also controlled using Magnus. During your turn, you select attack or healing cards from that character's deck. Some of the attack cards are elemental, and all of them have spirit numbers in the corner. The spirit numbers act as multipliers. If you select cards with the same number or with an ascending or descending sequence of numbers called a straight, you'll increase the effectiveness of whatever you're doing. This applies to defensive turns as well. Combat is relatively simple, but it has just enough depth to keep things interesting. The most challenging thing about it is setting up a balanced deck before battle. There are a couple slightly annoying aspects of the battle system, though. As you increase your class level, a timer will be added to your attack turn, which can be somewhat stressful when trying to plan what attacks you're going to use. Another annoyance is how quickly the enemies attack you on their turn. It's extremely tough to select a defensive card for the first attack of an enemy's combo. It would have been really nice if they gave you a second or two to defend yourself. One more thing that must be mentioned about combat is photography. You see, enemies don't drop money like in other RPGs. Instead, you'll have to take pictures of the monsters and bosses during combat, which can then be sold in shops. You can even take pictures of your own party members, and if you're lucky enough to get a rare picture, it will sell for quite a bit. Leveling up is kind of strange in Baten Kaitos. You do gain experience points, like in most other RPGs, but you do not level up as you accumulate them. Instead, you have to use a blue save point to visit a church, and the priest there will level you up. He will also increase your class levels if you have the required Magnus for it, which will increase your deck size. It's a very odd way to strengthen your party. Motoi Sakuraba composed what may be his finest soundtrack for this game. While many tracks feature his signature sound, there are quite a few that sound very different from anything he's done in the past. One of the best would be Chaotic Dance, which is one of the boss themes. Not everything is great in the sound department, though. The voice acting is pretty bad. It's not as bad as something like Chaos Wars, but it is definitely below average. They also have kind of a tinny sound to the voices. And I get what they were trying to do. You know, you're not hearing people directly, you're actually hearing people through Callus. It's a neat idea, but it doesn't work that well. Thankfully, you can turn the voices off if they annoy you. Baten Kaitos is a long adventure, clocking in at about 50 to 60 hours for the main story. Although the game isn't perfect, it's still a fantastic RPG and a very underrated gem on the GameCube.